You've never read about the 1998 Particle Collider incident. Little to no information exists online relating to the FANS accelerator. What does remain relates directly to the 1998 situation. I seek to expand on this, giving an overview of the events as best I can. Through my digging, I've come to find that even early into its construction, things about the project seemed off. Before construction even began, the area chosen to house the accelerator has played host of a number of strange occurrences and natural disasters. A farmer who lived on the property back in the 40s was struck by lightning 17 times. A tourist from Italy wandered away from a tour group and ended up caught in Baylor. And of course, the many tales of UFO encounters. In 1996, construction began on the FANS accelerator in Athens. The project was funded by Plutus Robotics, Atomic Research Division, and was staffed by students from the National Technical University of Athens. Construction and later experimentation was overseen by Dr. Series, head of the Atomic Research Division of Plutus Robotics. Dr. Series had something of a history of shady dealings, both with the Koyos University of Science and Technology lab fire in 1975 and the Oxford neutrino beam money laundering debacle. During the presentation given to the Administrative Board of NTUA by the Plutus Robotics representative, reportedly only a series of slides depicting several illegible, highly ornate handwritten letters were shown. Members of the Administrative Board would later go on to claim they had been shown detailed diagrams of the lengthy safety measures taken to protect their students, yet no two of these accounts agree upon what those safety measures were. Many reports of strange activity on the construction site were made by civilians. One such story is particularly striking in retrospect. Amongst others, and at the time 22-year-old Alexia Dracos, claims to have seen flickering spectral lights moving like figures across the site several months before the project was to publicly announced. They were blue, floated just off the ground, moving like billows of smoke. They burnt everything they came in contact with, leaving behind scorched lines where they passed. Alexia Dracos, August 17, 1997. Hopes were high that this state-of-the-art piece of equipment would firmly establish Greece as a central and key figure in the future of particle physics. As FANS was a superconducting cyclotron accelerator, expectations were placed firmly in the realm of rare isotope production. However, very little progress was made in this area. On September 14, 1997, the accelerator would claim its first victim when a member of the construction team was startled by a sudden and unexpected puff of compressed air and bumped a canister of liquid nitrogen. The pressurized canister burst, resulting in severe cold burns and frostbite across 30% of his body. The anonymous man lost all 10 of his fingers, along with an ear and a portion of his nose. No comment by the man was made, as Plutus was quick to step in with a settlement deal. This was only the first instance of the mega conglomerate stepping in to moderate the situation, later offering the other survivors similar deals, notable neither of which accepted. In the days after, multiple staff members reported seeing flickering anomalies on the monitors, specifically light blue or violet luminous smoke. These sightings were paired with often heard faint whispers, always just out of hearing range without any detectable origination point. On December 7, 1997, the first test run of the accelerator was performed. During this fairly routine head-to-head proton collision, the first of the accidents would occur. An unexpectedly large and sudden spike of gamma radiation, 15 times the amount expected or normally accounted for, would surge through the system nearly 10 minutes after the proton collision. This surge happened in a layer of the collider wall not fully insulated, resulting in several people in its pathway getting mildly irradiated. While no serious injury occurred, the incident was unprecedented, setting asterisk putting / leaving the entire research team on edge. Dr. Series was notably not concerned, pushing the team to get back to work as soon as possible to do another run, insisting the situation was all a sensor error. Though of course this would not be the last accident. Several non-eventual tests were run, 2 more with protons, and once again with neutrons. The results, although slightly anomalous, were within normal range, giving the team a sense of false safety. Even with this reassurance, things would still continue to get weirder, with Dr. Series becoming withdrawn, shutting down discussions and frantically working on the notes for an unnamed project. Several members of the research team made note of strange and surreal dreams they experienced in the weeks leading up to the event. On January 24, 1998, the FANS superconducting cyclotron accelerator was turned on for the final time. This is where reports become more widely available and clear in their statements. The following is compiled from official reporting as well as the first-hand account by DRS Elizabeth Quinn and Marco Barlos. Nothing about the fourth test run was routine, safe, or approved. Dr. Series, along with the main research team members, had locked themselves in the control center for the accelerator, actively fighting off attempts to enter. Dr. Series then instructed the team to arrange themselves into a closed circle around a small glass prism. Neither of the survivors can explain why they were so willing to go along with such a reckless plan, stating that at the time they'd been utterly convinced that Dr. Series knew best. Both survivors maintain that they were given a written invitation to a gathering at the accelerator, though only several illegible cards were ever recovered. Dr. Series proceeded to fire up the experiment. The accelerator was never intended on being used for heavy ion collisions, yet would-be gold ions would be used. The collision is hypothesized to have been the first to create a quark plasma, though no reading data survived the disaster. The following is compiled from official reporting as well as the first-hand account by DRS Elizabeth Quinn and Marco Barlos. Nothing about the fourth test run was routine, safe, or approved. Dr. Series, along with the main research team members, had locked themselves in the control center for the accelerator, actively fighting off attempts to enter. Dr. Series then instructed the team to arrange themselves into a closed circle around a small glass prism. Neither of the survivors can explain why they were so willing to go along with such a reckless plan, stating that at the time they'd been utterly convinced that Dr. Series knew best. Both survivors maintain that they were given a written invitation to a gathering at the accelerator, though only several illegible cards were ever recovered. Dr. Series proceeded to fire up the experiment. The accelerator was never intended on being used for heavy ion collisions, yet would-be gold ions would be used. The collision is hypothesized to have been the first to create a quark plasma, though no reading data survived the disaster. Upon the collision, survivors describe a resounding boom like a thunderclap, accompanied by the room shaking, lights flickering out, and multiple electronics in the room sparking and shorting out. The entire nearby electrical grid has burst due to a large electrical surge. The research team, however, did not find themselves in total darkness. The room was lit by a sudden, almost blindingly bright blinding flash of blue light. The brilliant azure glow would continue to linger, Cherenkov radiation illuminating the team of researchers. A billion particles breaking the air's light barrier, causing excess energy being shed in the form of blue light. The light seemed to emanate from the crystal prism, casting the room in flickering shadows. Each member of the team was subject of extreme doses of radiation, most dying within days of the exposure. The gamma rays tore through their DNA, leaving their cells unable to replicate, giving them the miserable death of rotting alive. Slowly their cells liquefying away until the lines between life and death blur together. Even the two longest living survivors suffering minor radiation poisoning and burns, each going on to have multiple extending complications, including a rare form of leukemia, which would go on to claim the life of Dr. Barlows. But this would not be the end of the ordeal. Several minutes after the initial collision, a section of the coolant system would break, weakening the structural momentum integrity of the accelerator. This was followed by an inexplicable explosion which blew out the northeastern side of the lab, doing almost $2 million worth of damage. Notably, instead of an explosion, both survivors described the arrival of visitors. Excerpt from interviews. There was no explosion. We were all in a state of shock. No one dared to move or even breath. Dr. Series was manic, ranting and raving about calculations, throwing objects around, even hitting several of us across the face. That's when they arrived. They? Who are they? You've alluded to another party before. The ones who watch, they look in on us from the outside. I think they were disappointed. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure I follow. I knew you wouldn't understand. You can't. You'll just discount this as the result of radiation poisoning, or a concussion like the rest do. Dr. Elizabeth Quinn, December 9, 2004. It wasn't long after Series lost it that those things came. But no, I can't talk about it. They'll know, they'll come back. Dr. Marco Barlows, October 17, 2001. No further information is available about what happened during the incident, and all 9 of the 12 researchers died within a week. Of the remaining 3, 2 are our survivors, and well, the other Dr. Series was never found after the incident, seemingly having disappeared into thin air, leaving behind a journal full of illegible scrolling blue cursive writing. The site was demolished and paved over, later having a small garden center built over it. To this day, reports of strange activity in the area continue, electronics acting oddly, the sound of distant muffled whispers, and some reports of ghostly blue flashes of light. In the aftermath of the destruction of the facility, Plutus Robotics would step in, paying for the majority of the damages, along with offering settlements to the survivors and families of the dead, making the statement that, "We in no way consider this a failure, merely a setback."